What is going on, guys? Welcome to Greggles TV. In this video, we're gonna give one final review. I feel like I reviewed this at least once, maybe twice, of the Galaxy Z Fold 3. And, you know, basically 1 year later, was it a good phone or not? And I want to talk about it because we're on the footsteps of the foothills of the Galaxy Z Fold 4. And I don't know, I just like to go back and talk about this phone because it's been my main phone the entire time. I'm a huge folding fan if you're new to the channel, and I just love folding phones. I cover them like crazy, probably more so than almost any other channel that you will find in the world. So we're gonna talk about this phone. First, we're gonna talk about the cameras on here. So Galaxy Z Fold 3 cameras, obviously you can take photos on the back, you can take them on the front when it's closed, and when it's open, you can take them on the under display camera, which you really can't see. This is terrible. I would say 9 times out of 10, use this only if in a pinch, which I don't stick to that rule because I forget and I just end up using it. But this is a terrible camera with video and photos. It's horrendous. It's the worst camera on any flagship phone that you can get. The front camera here on the smaller, skinnier display does work pretty well. You can get some nice videos, nice photos, and then on the back, same thing. You can get some pretty good photos and videos as well. Now, overall, in the grand scheme of things, how well and how happy am I with the photos and videos that I've taken with this phone? I'd probably say a little bit above average. I don't trust this phone enough to capture good photos if we're going somewhere really special. If we're going to an amusement park, I always take a secondary phone, have it be the Pixel 6, which is usually the phone I take, or the iPhone, just because the iPhone gets really good battery life and I can trust that. But I'll always take this, but then I'll always take a secondary phone to take the photos with. So I don't really trust this in major situations. So it's not that good, but it's good enough to get a fairly decent couple of good photos, but it's not gonna usually get any photos, at least in my eyes, or videos that are gonna blow people away. So on a rating scale for all the cameras combined, I would personally give it a 6 out of 10, which I think is really bad for a basically almost $2,000 phone. It's not that good. Next up is reliability. How reliable has this phone been with software and with hardware? Well, software, it's been pretty reliable, but since I've been getting updates throughout the time, I've had issues with like networking issues, and I'm not even talking about just on Wi-Fi, I'm talking on when I've been using 5G, to the point where it's like the data sometimes just won't work. I've had to restart the phone and then it works. And so it's been kind of unreliable in that kind of way. And then sometimes with formatting of certain apps, which are usually the social media apps, sometimes looking at photos or just feeds within social media apps, sometimes it looks weird. And then sometimes just apps in general look kind of weird. So it's one thing that definitely needs to be improved on folding phones in general, especially on the Samsung side. And a lot of that probably has to do with Android and the app makers really saying, okay, these phones are here to stay. These are a market of people that we want to please and make happy, and we really need to do something so it works. And these people don't walk away with these weird feelings about certain apps and how they look on this phone. So app reliability, apps overall in general, I'd probably give it about a 6 out of 10, maybe a 7. I'd go 7 out of 10 actually, 7 out of 10. Mostly everything works, but sometimes you have a little hiccup with certain things. Now, what about reliability with just the phone? Has it broken? Has it been weird? Well, if you've been following my channel, I did have some weird stretch marks on my phone in the middle of the screen. Basically, I'd only see it when I had the phone screen completely off. I could see like these weird stretch marks that came in with the phone in the middle, almost like it had been open and closed too much, which really shouldn't happen. I've also recently realized that my phone is crooked. That's another thing, and I literally dropped it in the case, closed in my car, and it came away still crooked. I know other people have the same issue. And then my wife, one day, her screen had all these weird colored marks on it as if she had broken it and she hadn't done anything to it. So reliability still isn't perfect. I feel like it is better than it was on the Galaxy Z Fold 2. I've had this phone in a really great spec clear case for forever, and I've dropped it a million times. So it's been really reliable in that sense, but is it as reliable as a candy bar phone? No. So for reliability on the hardware side, I'd probably give it a 6.5 out of 10. Battery life is a major weak point with the Galaxy Z Fold 3. They really need to amp it up. I don't know how they're gonna do it. At least with the Z Fold 4, we're supposed to get better power efficiency with the new Snapdragon 8 Gen Plus 1 processor. This has a Snapdragon 888, 12 gigs of RAM, and the battery life is just horrendous. It's tough for me to get. I'll wake up in the morning, and by like 11 or 12 in the AM to PM, I'm basically almost out of battery life. I need to charge this up a lot of the days. I don't trust this phone. If I'm going somewhere for a while, again, I always bring a secondary phone, especially if I'm not gonna be near a charger, so that I know that I'm gonna be safe. Or I'll turn on battery saver mode on this, and then I can get through a full day. But ultimately, if I'm using this the way I want to and I intend, the battery dies so quick. It's very unreliable in the battery category, and I just do not trust it. Also, charging, only 25 watts, kind of slow, especially when you want to charge this up in a pinch. I mean, 25 watts will get you charged up fairly quick within 30 minutes, but you want this to go really, really quick, especially when the battery life is pretty bad, and it just definitely needs to be in that 65 to 100 watt charging capacity to really make me feel even a lot better about this. So for battery and charging, I'll group those together. I'd give it probably give it a 5.5 out of 10. Next up are speakers. Speakers on the Z Fold 2, I personally thought sounded louder, clearer, better than the Z Fold 3. And as time has gone on with, doing voice calls and with speakerphone calls, I should say, and things like that, and playing music out of these. Now the speakers are not bad, they're pretty good. They definitely, in my eyes, need to get louder though, especially when you think about how large this phone is and how you feel like the speakers were better on last generation. I know a lot of it has to do with the water resistance that's built into this, but ultimately it still walks away from me being a little lackluster from what I expect it to be. So speakers, I'd give them a 7.5 out of 10. Now, I did speak about water resistance and dust resistance. It doesn't have any dust resistance. It does have water resistance. So you can put this into about 3 feet of water, which isn't great, but at least it's something. You can drop this into a body of water, as long as it's not salt water, and pretty much be safe with it, and as long as you get it out fairly quick. But ultimately, we would like to see that improved on the next generation of phone. And then S Pen, you can't use it on the small display. You can use it on the big display. I never do. It would have been cool if it was inserted in here in case you needed it, but you would need a case otherwise to holster it on the phone. Otherwise, you're gonna be keeping it in your pocket the whole time. It's cool that it has it. Again, I don't ever use the S Pen on this big display. So for me, S Pen and water resistance, dust resistance, like his features, I think are really cool. So I would think and this isn't even a rating for me because I really don't care about the S Pen, but for most people, I think even though it doesn't have the Bluetooth capability, it's still great to have, but it not having the insertion inside the phone and having to holster it outside drops it a little, so I would give that a 7 out of 10. Now let's get to the reason why people buy this phone. It's the displays. It's this huge display, tablet-like experience, or you have the smaller phone type experience on the outside, and a screen that does basically everything that you can do on the big display, you can do on this small display, and it's great to have those two features to be able to do it. Small display is way too small for me still. I almost never ever use it. So, and the quality of it is cool. It's 120 hertz. It looks clear. It's totally usable in certain situations. It's just too skinny and small and tall to make, especially my bad eyes, read most of the thing, and the keyboard is uncomfortable to type on. So I'd give the outside small display a 6 out of 10. The big display is a big win for me. The only down point on it is that I definitely want it to be brighter at this point. Outdoor environments, it definitely can be seen in outdoor environments, but in San Diego it's really sunny, especially in the middle of the day, and it's sometimes just a little bit harder to see than I would personally want to. I like my screens really, really bright. I'm talking S22 ultra bright, and this just doesn't make that point. So otherwise, I absolutely love the display. I love how big it is. It's great. It's easy to see stuff. It's fun to use to do with gaming and websites and social media and web browsing and messaging people, just anything to do with it. That's like a big win. So the display here, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10, but with the brightness, if we were just giving brightness a rating, I'd give the brightness a 7 out of 10. So So overall, I didn't really rate this phone all that high. You got to admit, like, there's a lot of things that I would want improved or changed, and I think the Z Fold 4 will bring those things on here, such as a fatter display, such as potentially better battery life, such as things such as better reliability, better cameras on here, fatter outside display. There's things that are going to happen to this phone that are going to improve it. But overall, not even overall, like, this phone is just fun to use. Like, when you use it, a lot of people are like, yeah, this phone is really fun. It's really hard to go back to a traditional phone. I say it all the time, it's hard to go back to a traditional phone. I will never go back to a traditional phone, just like I will never go back to a gas car. Electric vehicles are just so much more fun to drive. So even though I'm giving this low ratings, it's just so fun. It's such a great device. But at the grand scheme of things, is it a great phone? Is it a good phone? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not great. It's not bad. It's fun. Hopefully that makes sense. That's my rating right there. Final rating on this just as an overall device, because I really factor fun as a huge point to it. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. Now, if you take the fun factor out, it's probably really like a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you down the road. And give me your rating if you have this phone too. Your final rating. Peace.